Well, 2017 has ended, and it's time to do a recap. And I decided to start with the San Diego Chargers moving to LA. I know some of you out there are not into sports or just plain hate it, but this is also going to be about the decline of the NFL as well. When the years began, the San Diego Chargers announced they are going to move to Los Angeles. And I was incredibly pissed about it. So was every other San Diegan that liked the Chargers. The Chargers needed a new stadium and the taxpayers did not want to pay for the construction for the new stadium. And Dean Spanos, who is the team's owner, did not like that. So he decided to move the team up north to LA. Probably as a punishment to the fans who voted against paying for the new stadium. The problem with this is that Dean Spanos is a billionaire, along with his family, and he can pay for the construction of the new stadium. Because he is a cheapskate, he wanted the taxpayers to fund the new stadium. I have no respect for him anymore, or anyone that's a cheapskate billionaire. Along with that, let alone wanting to see him in San Diego again. Now we fast forward to September. When the 2017 season began, the Chargers couldn't fill up seats in their first game as LA Chargers. Well, their first home game. In fact, the NFL has been having the same problems with attendance during this season. Plus, I wonder if the NFL wanted to keep the Chargers in San Diego. Because if they... I wonder if the Chargers... what I'm trying to say is that I wonder if the NFL wanted to keep the Chargers in San Diego. Because if they did, they will have to find a way to get the team away from the Spanos family. And I don't know how they're going to do it. Probably trying to buy them out. Or get some other millionaire to buy the team. Or make Dean Spanos die. Like, he died in his sleep. That's kind of odd because he was healthy, you know. There's one thing that the NFL has experienced this year is a decline in attendance. The reason why is the NFL is being politicized, and many fans are turned off by it. Nobody wants to see the NFL players kneel down during the national anthem in protest for the social justice. When people watch the NFL, they want to watch the players play the game, not to be political. If they wanted them to be political, the NFL would set up a roundtable and have them do discussions on political topics like Trump's tax plans, the California gubernatorial elections, and the situation of North Korea. But nobody wants that shit. And of course the players can't go on YouTube to express their political views because the NFL won't let them do. Yep. That's one thing about the NFL. They like to micromanage every aspect of their lives. And it's kind of terrible if you think about it. Where if they say damn it, they get fined. And if they get into trouble with the law, they get suspended for 3 games. Now, If they wear the wrong socks, they also get suspended for like 1 game for that, which is bullshit. But the NFL is fine with the whole kneeling crap. Come on. It's no wonder why the 2017 attendance was low. People are tired of this shit. But anyways, the NFL has gotten boring over the years on account that the franchise is legalistic with its rules. Like every year, they seem to change the rules constantly, making the game less exciting to watch. Maybe 40 years ago, it would have been fun to watch on account that the players would get injured a lot. But those days are over. Hell, if you think about it, last season, the 2016 season, if you look at the playoffs games compared to the current playoffs game, the playoffs game last year and the year before that would have like filled up seats and fans hollering. They can't even fill up a seat during the playoffs. And I can't wait to see what the fucking Super Bowl's gonna be like. It's terrible. But that's what happens when you politicize a franchise. In fact, I watch hockey more than I watch football these days because hockey is a lot more exciting on account that players lose their teeth and I guess get hurt more often. Of course, they let the players fight each other. Which, that's all about the NFL from this year. There's a lot to talk about this year, so I'm just going to continue on. Back in January, a group of black teenagers kidnapped a mentally disabled man and tortured him because he was white. And the mainstream media think it has something to do with him having a mental disability. No, it has something to do with him being white. You see, they burned cigarettes on him. They cut a small chunk of his scalp and they dumped his head in the toilet. The fact that he had a mental disorder made him an easy target, and the mainstream media is responsible for this because they are the ones doing most of the race baiting. And of course you've got your Jesse Jacksons, your Al Sharptons, and Sean Kings, and because of MSM and them assholes, these 4 perpetrators were motivated to torture this man, even if he did nothing wrong with them. But they tortured him because they are told they got grievances against white folks, and the mainstream media should be ashamed of themselves for this happening. But they're not gonna. And this is why we need to destroy the mainstream media. This incident took place in Chicago, Obama's hometown. Now, Chicago is one of the most dangerous cities in the country, and I refuse to step foot into this city because of that fact. Here is an update to this incident. One of the perpetrators, Brittany Covington, is getting 4 years of probation and 200 hours of community service. I think that's horseshit. She should be getting 15 years in prison for this. I think anyone with a rational mind would think the same, but I guess she's a woman of color, so she gets to have it easy. Only gets a slap on the wrist. None of these assholes are sorry for this crime, and only express remorse because they got caught. because they were stupid enough to stream themselves live on Facebook, which I guess they'll go down as one of the most stupidest criminals in the world. Like, if you're gonna torture somebody, don't live stream it, because it's a good way the police officers can track it down. So that's all for the Chicago kidnapping incident. On January 20th, 2017, Donald J. Trump came into office as the 45th President of the United States, and many of the alt-left were unhappy, in which they still do, and of course they still cry about it, and crow about it on Twitter. And of course some of them crashed the inauguration. And the best part of the inauguration is when they announced that Donald Trump is officially the 45th President of the United States of America. And some lady went down on her knees and screamed, "No!" And I sat there laughing my ass off. That was the funniest part of the inauguration ceremony. It really shows that the jokes write themselves. Like, you go to these resist hashtag people and see how much you laugh at these dumbasses because they think the world's coming to an end because because Don John is now the President of the United States. The day after the inauguration event, a group of feminists decided to hold a protest march at our nation's capital and called it the Women's March. And one of them organizers happened to be Linda Sarsour, but we will get to her later. But this protest march was nothing more than a mass temper tantrum because Trump won the election, is now president. And of course it was the largest protest march since the Vietnam protest march. Now if you look at the participants, it's like most of them are fat, ugly, and ladies that sit around all day on their Tumblr page and complain about how evil the patriarchy is. They don't contribute to society, and they got this unworn self-importance to them. This probably will be the only exercise they are ever going to get in this year, since most of them don't even work out at all. Like I said, they just sit around and eat empty calorie diets of pizza, soda, and potato chips. Because that's why they're fucking big and they dye their hair in color that looks like vomit. Now, there's one thing I find to be the worst aspect of that protest was the celebrities. Oh man, I hate those celebrities now because of this. Every celebrity that was there virtue signal how great they are because they claim to be a feminist. Yeah, wear these shirts that says this is what a feminist look like. And of course these shirts are made by Sri Lankan women. And like the partakers, they wore these pink cat ears hat. What a way to ruin that fashion. Because I remember digging chicks wearing these type of weird cat ears beanie hats, something like that. But anyways, it was basically Madonna talking about blowing up the White House. Ashley Judd did her nasty women speech. That speech that she talked about tampons and having periods and all that shit, but whatever, she's going to die alone as a spinster with no kids in her life. And of course Madonna, her son wants nothing to do with her because she's crazy, and it would be funny if the Secret Service comes to a resident in Hollywood and asks her a question. Does he really mean that? She pisses in her pants. Of course, she probably wears a catheter now because she's getting old and shit. Besides, has Madonna made any hits recently? I don't know. I guess her new song is going to be called Blowing Up the White House. And a bunch of new males and shit. These feminist activists like to talk about how women have to pay more tampons and supposedly men get free razors from the government. Well, where's my free razors? Am I supposed to get them from the mail? Are they supposed to deliver it to me? There's one thing you should know is that none of them will talk about women's rights issues in other parts of the world, like how women are second-class citizens in Saudi Arabia, and they count that they will get stoned for not covering their head, or get executed for getting raped, or not allowed to drive without their partner. Hell, they're not even allowed to leave their fucking house without a male escort. Or in Africa, girls get their clitoris sliced off on the count that they fear that the girls will be sexually active in later years if they don't. Or bride burning that happens in India, or having acid tossed in their faces in Islamic countries as well. But of course, one of these organizers is Linda Sarsour. And one thing I know about Linda Sarsour is she does not want folks to pay attention to the shit that's happening in these Muslim countries or third world countries on the count that she is a radical Muslim. Come on, she fucking hates Ayaan, if I pronounce that name right, Hirsi Ali and Bridget Gabriel, because they are ex-Muslim, and she wants a global caliphate or some shit like that. Which, it's pretty much what she wants, you know, because it's obvious that she supports ISIS. ISIS wants a global caliphate as well. They're globalists, people. The only difference between our globalists and their globalists is that their globalists want a global caliphate, like I said. Ours, they just want to exploit the world and shit. Exploit other people and exploit human misery just for their own profit. That's all about her. None of these self-proclaimed feminists are never going to bring up the issues women in the Islamic world face constantly, and they never will. They're just going to keep talking about stupid shit like the patriarchy, my white privilege, my male privilege, and all that shit they just keep talking all day. Intersectional feminism. Instead, all they want is to live in a socialist welfare state where they can sit around all day and not be expected to give contribution to society. And that's pretty much in case if you know. So that's all about the Women's March. Well, this moment in 2017 was the most fun I ever had. The reason why is that Shia LaBeouf started a project known as He Will Not Divide Us, and it got overrun by trolls and all that shit. After Trump took office, Little Shia decided to launch his anti-Trump project in New York City called He Will Not Divide Us. Basically, he wanted Hillary Rotten Clinton to be president of the United States, and he didn't get that, so he's doing this freaking protest project in New York City, and it didn't take long for 4chan's poll for him to show up and fuck with Shia. Now this was at the Museum of Moving Image in the Queens area in New York. Because of that, you can see half of the museum sign, and it reads the Museum of, and of course it says the Museum of Image, but you only see the word Museum of because of the area where it's, because of the position where it's filming at. So someone decided to take the word kick on the sign and kick where the sign is, and it made it said the Museum of Kick, which was funny because you know, people are just fucking with Shia, and the trolling got to the point where Shia is starting to get annoyed by the trolls. That at one point he started yelling incoherently at one of them, screaming, "He will not divide us," on his ear. Of course, he was a short person. I like to see him do that in front of me. 6'2" I am. And of course, he got physical with somebody who he thought was a troll. It gotten so bad that they had to have security within the area where the event was at. And of course it got shut down because a group of trolls decided to show up shirtless and shout, I guess, pro-Trump rhetoric while drinking milk. And of course the mainstream media claimed milk is racist because of that shit. I think that was one of the most silliest thing I ever saw, you know, because you see a bunch of guys shirtless guzzling down milk, and that makes milk racist because milk is white. So I guess white chocolate is racist and vanilla is racist because it's white. Which that's according to their logic. But Shia wasn't done with this project and decided to move it to Albuquerque, New Mexico, a city that has a problem with gangs and illegal immigrants. And like the one in New York, it also got overrun by trolls. Now the New Mexico event got shut down because there was a shooting going on in the background. In fact, some guy was reciting poetry in front of the camera, and someone started, and I guess there was like a gang shooting going on because Albuquerque these days is basically gangland. And of course you see a lot of people before that trolling the event and putting up pro-Trump signs. There's a lot of videos of people trolling the He Will Not Divide Us event. You can go look it up on YouTube if you want to. Now, Shia is no quitter, so he decided to outsmart the trolls by going out into the field, into an open field in Tennessee, and just film a flag that has "He will not divide us," thinking that the trolls will not fuck up his project. Well, he was wrong. Using the power of celestial navigation and looking at contrails, they managed to pinpoint the location of the flag, and there they took it down and replaced it with a MAGA hat and a Pepe shirt, which was pretty hilarious. Jokes on little Shy, I guess. And then he decided to move the live stream to Liverpool, England, on a rooftop of some museum, and the trolls managed to find out the location by doing the same thing and tried to steal with it. And of course the museum owners and the police decided to shut down the project, prompting little Shia to rage quit the project for a while. But Shia isn't going to give up, so in October, little Shia went to France and hung his flag so high that you need a crane to get it down. And the trolls tried unsuccessfully to set the flag on fire, and the flag is fire retardant. So it's like he thought of everything. But basically, the trolls will find a way to fuck up his project. At this point, I expect that he's gonna take his project to some underground bunker at one point. At some time in the near future. You know, because him and trolls are always trying to fuck with this guy. It's kind of fun if you think about it. But that's all with the "He will not divide us" thing. The Pissgate dossier is the biggest journalistic blunder of this year. BuzzFeed released a dossier claiming to be from the British MI6 intelligence agency. The dossier reports that Trump went to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Russia, rented out a room where the Obamas stayed at, hired piss hookers to perform golden showers on each other on the bed where the Obamas slept, and sit down and watch non-stop hours of hentai beating off while wearing pajamas with his prostitute ladies. The one thing about this dossier, it is fake. This has to be the most over-the-top shit that any news site has ever published. What the motherfuck was BuzzFeed thinking when publishing this material? It's like they never took the time to fact check it. And it really just throws out the idea of BuzzFeed having journalistic integrity out the window. This type of shit puts BuzzFeed at the risk for a defamation suit from the Trump family. When I first heard about this, I started laughing really hard. It really showed how shitty BuzzFeed was at journalism, and how they cannot fact check anything they see. If anything that talks shit about Trump, they'll publish it and take it for real. Now, if this was any other politicians, they'll just throw it on the wayside, thinking that it's not true. This is the most stupidest over-the-top bullshit thing that has ever came out from from anyone, and they'll just credit it as fake. But I guess it has something to do with Donald J. Trump, or Don John, I like to call him. So they had to publish it, and it's just slander. Well, I hope BuzzFeed has fun getting their defamation suit from the Trump family. But hopefully BuzzFeed and the legacy media will eventually die in the near future. And I'll be laughing my ass off, well, flourishing in their languishment forever. So that's all I gotta say about the Pizzagate dossier thing. On March 20th, Uncle David Rockefeller died. When I heard about his death, I was jubilant, and I had a good reason why. David Rockefeller was a malice person. At the time of his death, the mainstream media labeled him as a philanthropist, all that shit, because he would send food aid to Africa. The reason why he did that is to keep the good people of Africa poor, so they can work in his diamond mine while earning a slave wage. Also, this guy had 4 or 7 different hearts beating in his chest because each one keeps failing. Kinda like the elder dickhead Cheney, if you ask me. But I also heard he had connection with the CIA, which shows how powerful he is. About the philanthropy shit he does constantly, the reason why he does it is for good PR. Plus him and other folks like him are just doing this overseas aid bullshit is to keep folks poor, so they won't have to grow their own food because they're getting free food, and the local farmers can't compete against that, so they don't even bother growing food for the local people, and this causes a famine within that region. Nobody bothers to train to become a medical practitioner because they send foreign medical staff to these countries, and this causes either an epidemic of preventable diseases or causes the country to have poor health care. They don't even bother working on the infrastructures because they send foreign workers to work on the infrastructure. So they don't even bother clearing out roads or building rail networks. So the country in long term ends up with a poor infrastructure. It's a way to keep people poor because they can use them as slave laborers at their mines, earning 10 cents a day. It's this NWO mentality they have, not to be a conspiracy theorist or anything. It's amazing how these fuckers like him live to be over 90. You think that there's a young heir in their 60s that are equally corrupt as they are, but I guess they managed to live long enough for sometimes. And I don't even know why. But I think that assholes like Uncle David desire immortality because they want to live forever and never die. Why, you might ask? Because they are evil men with evil hearts. That's why. It's like they want a plutocracy of multi-billionaires that are immortal, so they can rule over us peasantry. And not only that, they lack a century, so we can work hard and make them richer. You know, these multinational families of bankers and whatnot. Not only that, they lack spirituality and are materialistic in nature. And because they are multinational businessmen, They have no loyalty to God and country. They have loyalty to their money and themselves. So yeah, David Rockefeller, Uncle David is rotting in hell, and I'm happy about that. In fact, I can't wait for George Soros to kick the bucket, because that guy is crooked as fuck. Georgie Boy has a tendency to destabilize monetary system in countries, because that's his favorite hobby. Because of that, many countries brand him as a fugitive because of his malice nature. And, and I guess the fact that he has billions of dollars in his name, he thinks he can get away with it, and probably does get away with it as well. And like I said, none of these people have any spirituality. Now you can say that Uncle David was a Christian. Maybe so, but the only reason why he was a Christian is because of reputation. It's all about having a good rep and good PR. That's what I said about with the philanthropy bullshit they like to do. They don't have any loyalty to God and country, like I said before. And of course, in a spiritual sense, most of these guys are going to spend a long time burning in hell. A really long time, because of their materialistic nature. All they desire is material goods, like their 5,000 car garage with their collection of 5,000 cars, mostly Lamborghinis, their $5.2 billion ring, jewelry, their 5,000 feet long mansion. And of course, some of them live in like a 50-story high penthouse in the middle of downtown Manhattan, while the rest of us have to live in squalor just to suck their dicks every day to make ends meet, which is bullshit. And because these people don't have any spirituality, they're going to burn in hell for the rest of eternity. And that's a very long time, people. That's a very long time. But that's what happens when you're materialistic. But there's an old saying about these multi-billionaire, multinational business folks and bankers. For it's easier for a camel to go through a needle's eye than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Let that sink into your mind. To be honest, I think the death of Chuck Berry was more sad than the death of Rockefeller or something like that. I like to call him Uncle David because he's like this rich uncle. You can leech off of him, and he's at like 101, so his mind might not be working right. So you can take advantage of him. Hell, I even thought about swindling this old fart for his fortune. And of course, if I do that successfully, his family is going to start sending hitmen after me, so they can get their fortune back. Which, that's one thing you should know, is that these people are materialistic, like I said. They love money because it gives them everything they want. Like, they engage in their vices. They can like hire hitmen to get rid of people that they hate. And they just do whatever the fuck they want because they thought money is the thing that makes them do it. So, and of course, that's all I gotta say about Uncle David dying. Good riddance. The world's a happier place for him dying and rotting in hell as he is. Remember that you might have power on earth, but in hell, You got no power after all. So fuck the Rockefellers, I hate them. I also hate the Soroses, I hate the Clintons, and I hate the Rothschilds. That's all I got to say. On January 20th, Trump took the Oval Office. It's not just the beginning of his administration, but it was also the beginning of his honeymoon. And now, we all know what the presidential honeymoon is. So if you don't even know what a presidential honeymoon is, you can go look it up on Google or any other search engine or any encyclopedia websites. So I'm going to start on him scrapping the TPP. Not long after Trump took office, he would withdraw the US from the TPP, and I was happy that he did that, because the TPP was an abomination. Now some of the TPP documents were released, and these documents, it talks about allowing corporations to sue sovereign states and individuals and expand copyright laws in a corporate sense, which means it has more to do with multinational corporations doing whatever the fuck they want than free trade. And this is just the old draft of these documents. Now, if Hillary Rotten Clinton won the election, she would have signed the TPP 30 seconds after taking the Oval Office, on the count that she's a corporatist. Thank God she did not. Thank God she's not the president. There's one thing that the hashtag resistance crowd like to do is complain about how evil Trump is, even if he shot down the TPP. And of course they like to say that Trump is pro-business, pro-corporation, pro-corporatism, not knowing that that's pretty much what Clinton is, and Trump was the one who shot down the TPP, which I think it's stupid how, but it goes to show how stupid these resist hashtag assholes are. Trump brings back the CIA black sites. I'm against that. I'm gonna say this. I don't support that move because the CIA black sites have done nothing to prevent terrorism in this country. It's just an excuse to torture people randomly. You know, the CIA only, what I'm saying is that the only thing that the CIA does best is they like to smuggle cocaine in cereal box, hack into people's cars and kill them that way, hack into people's television set, computers, cellular phones, hack into people's emails to eavesdrop everybody, like violating the Fourth Amendment. Fuck the Fourth Amendment. We're gonna violate everybody's privacy by hacking into them. And sending child operatives to Terry Davis's house to evoke a sexual response. That's what the CIA does. They're good at this. They do these shit in preventing terrorism, except for the child sex operatives, because I made that up. You know what? If you want to know what I'm talking about, okay, if you want to know what's that about, go look up Terry Davis, a paranoid guy who thinks the CIA is out to get him or something. But anyways, it's not, to be serious, it's not going to do anything to prevent terrorism. It's just an excuse to torture illegal combatants. You know, And because they're not part of this country, we can just torture them and not respect their rights as human beings. Now, this could give the green light to other nations to do the same thing with American citizens. And typical American citizens don't deserve that. They don't deserve to be tortured like that or anything else like that. But they are going to do that as an excuse because the American people, they're going to use their intelligence agency to torture our folks. So let's do the same thing with them. You know, like if some terrorist accidentally wanders beyond the border of Iran, the Iranian government can just torture them for no reason other than claim to make some stupid excuse that they're espionage agent, all that. So I don't support Trump's decision of reactivating the CIA black site. At least one of the things that Obama did good was deactivating these black sites because they're useless. That's all I gotta say about the CIA black sites. And their glow in the dark. Trump renegotiates NAFTA. I think that's a good thing. NAFTA has never done anything for this economy. Before NAFTA, we had a budget surplus from trade, you know, because we produce a lot of goods in this city and this country, and we shipped it out to other nations, basically taking the raw resources and turning them into goods, luxury goods or basic goods, like appliances and electronics and automobiles. I guess when NAFTA became signed, all the companies supported it because they can move their businesses to overseas, mainly factories and whatnot. And they started moving them down to Mexico, where everything was starting to be produced in Mexico. Plastic toys, appliances and televisions and all that lovely shit Americans like to have. And this really damaged the American middle class at the time. Most people think Trump is gonna destroy the American middle class, but I think the Clintons already done that. The funny thing about Billy Boy Clinton is that a lot of people see him as this hero because, I don't know, my budget surplus of this country, which he did give our country a budget surplus, give him credit for that, but he also gave us a trade deficit. And he was also a corporatist. His economic plan was just a watered down version of Reaganomics. So by the end of the 90s, half of the people in the country started working in McDonald's and flipping burgers, especially in the Rust Belt. There's a reason why Trump won the Rust Belt, is because when Obama came into office, he didn't do anything to improve the economy. It was like very stagnant after the Great Recession. Now, I think with Trump in office, things are starting to pick up. The only threat to this movement of this economy is a future financial crisis that will be 10 times worse than the Great Recession. And it's said to be on the year 2020, the next presidential election, which is pretty much the year it's going to happen. And that could be a big threat to Trump's presidency or America. Let's hope we can dodge that bullet, or otherwise it's inevitable that we will suffer this economic meltdown. It's just a matter if Trump can get us through this. And plus, NAFTA has basically, it's just a corporatist interventionist trade deal that allows companies to move overseas. How we even moved overseas to China with our trade agreement with that, where we pay people less to build cheap goods and sell them to the U.S. And that TPP would have destroyed the American middle class for good, you know. So I'm glad Trump is trying to renegotiate NAFTA, which I think that's a good thing. So that's all I got to say about NAFTA. Okay. Trump and the GOP ends the ban of gun suppressors, which it's called a Hearing Protection Act. I support this. This is one step ending these gun control laws in this country. These gun control laws are not very constitutional. In fact, they violate the Second Amendment. Now these states, these blue states like Illinois, New York, California, and Hawaii, they love to make it hard for people to own guns or try to ban guns. And of course what we see with the McDonald versus the city of Chicago, that the states are inclined to follow the Bill of Rights as well as the federal government. That includes the Second Amendment. And of course, if you're Jerry Brown, Gavin Newsom, Harris, or Feinstein, you fucking hate that shit because you want to take people's guns away. Now, I think you all heard this quote from Ben Franklin, is this: if people sacrifice their liberty for security, they don't deserve security. And I think that's pretty much what people are doing in the state of California, is they're sacrificing their liberty just so they can feel secure. It's a false sense of security because, you know, crime in California is like through the roof. I wouldn't be surprised in 2050 crime in San Diego has risen and people can't defend themselves because of the laws. These gun laws are an abomination to this country, you know, and to the forefathers. Of course, these pro-gun control fanatics like to bring up about the Second Amendment that was only applying to muskets and muzzle-loading rifles. That's also a bullshit statement, because if that's the case, then with free speech and freedom of media, those CNN fuckheads probably should shut down their social media accounts, and what I'm saying is that these legacy media dumbasses should shut down their social media accounts, their television stations, and their radio stations, because when the forefathers talked about freedom of media, free press, they're talking about printing press and the newspaper and all that, which that logic is stupid in my opinion. And now with the GOP dealing with gun control, the GOP always abandoned the Second Amendment because most of them are neocons, and they don't really care if people are armed. In fact, they don't like the idea if the common man has a gun to defend himself and defend against thugs or people who want to destroy democracy. So they may first start fighting against gun control, and after that they'll abandon the Second Amendment because that's what they do. They don't do anything against existing gun control laws. They'll try to suppress any new gun control laws coming. And of course, one thing about George W. Bush is that one thing he did good is let the assault rifle ban take its course. That's the only thing he ever done for gun rights. Otherwise, he was just another run-of-the-mill neocon. And I have no respect for neocons or neoliberals, because they're a bunch of scumbags and they deserve nothing at all. They deserve nothing but misery, you know. The same misery they like to induce on the American people and all that shit. But anyways, I think the ban of gun suppress, I think lifting the ban of suppressors is a good thing. It's the right step of getting rid of gun control. That's all I got to say about that. Trump and the GOP ends the ban of gun suppressors, which it's called a Hearing Protection Act. I support this. This is one step ending these gun control laws in this country. These gun control laws are not very constitutional. In fact, they violate the Second Amendment. Now these states, these blue states like Illinois, New York, California, and Hawaii, they love to make it hard for people to own guns or try to ban guns. And of course, what we see on with the McDonald versus the city of Chicago, that the states are inclined to follow the Bill of Rights as well as the federal government. That includes the Second Amendment. And of course, if you're Jerry Brown, Gavin Newsom, Harris, or Feinstein, you fucking hate that shit because you want to take people's guns away. Now, I think you all heard this quote from Ben Franklin, is this: if people sacrifice their liberty for security, they don't deserve security. And I think that's pretty much what people are doing in the state of California, is they're sacrificing their liberty just so they can feel secured. It's a false sense of security because, you know, crime in California is like through the roof. I wouldn't be surprised in 2050 crime in San Diego has risen and people can't defend themselves because of the laws. These gun laws are an abomination to this country, you know, and to the forefathers. Of course, these pro-gun control fanatics like to bring up about the Second Amendment that was only applying to muskets and muzzle-loading rifles. That's also a bullshit statement, because if that's the case, then with free speech and freedom of media, those CNN fuckheads probably should shut down their social media accounts, and what I'm saying is that these legacy media dumbasses should shut down their social media accounts, their television stations, and their radio stations, because when the forefathers talked about freedom of media, free press, they're talking about printing press and the newspaper and all that. Which that logic is stupid, in my opinion. And now with the GOP dealing with gun control, the GOP always abandoned the Second Amendment because most of them are neocons, and they don't really care if people are armed. In fact, they don't like the idea if the common man has a gun to defend himself and defend against thugs or people who want to destroy democracy. So they may first start fighting against gun control, and after that they'll abandon the Second Amendment because that's what they do. They don't do anything against existing gun control laws. They'll try to suppress any new gun control laws coming. And of course, one thing about George W. Bush is that one thing he did good is let the assault rifle ban take its course. That's the only thing he ever done for gun rights. Otherwise, he was just another run-of-the-mill neocon. And I have no respect for neocons or neoliberals, because they're a bunch of scumbags and they deserve nothing at all. They deserve nothing but misery, you know. The same misery they like to induce on the American people and all that shit. But anyways, I think the ban of gun suppress, I think lifting the ban of suppressors is a good thing. It's the right step of getting rid of gun control. That's all I got to say about that. Now, Donald Trump continues the drone strike in Yemen, thinking they can target terrorists. I'm against that. When we first started drone strikes in Yemen, it didn't really target terrorists or anything that was meant to be targeted. Instead, it just targeted civilians. And thus, this helped increase terrorist activities like ISIS. It's the same thing in Syria. You know, like, you might have families there in Syria and they get blown up by some drone strike we send in. Because of this, ISIS used this as a recruiting method to bring people into the fold. So I'm against that because a lot of families died. And of course, I remember when Obama came on television with crocodile tears about mass shooting and shit. And of course, he's allowing people to get killed in Yemen. Mainly families, children, schools, or whatever. And because of that, in Yemen, the opinions on the United States were extremely low. Thanks, Obama. That's all I gotta say about them drone strikes in Yemen. It's not good. It's not gonna do anything to make the country better. We should just give it up and stop. We should. What I'm trying to say is, we should stop fucking around in the Middle East and focus something on else, like North Korea. That's all I gotta say about the drone strikes. Trump launches 50 Tomahawk missiles at a Syrian airfield because of claims of Assad gassing his people. I did not like that. There's no proof that these gas attacks came from Assad's forces. And keep in mind that Assad has been using barrel bombs because in the past, during the Obama administration, we keep funding the FSA, the Syrian Free Army, and giving them weapons. And of course, the FSA don't even fuck with ISIS because they just sell them weapons as well. And basically, the FSA is just like ISIS, except they want Syria to be an Islamic State. Now, the reason why Trump did this is to prove China that he is not like Obama. He's no pushover, he's not weak, and of course, he's a strong person and he's not going to be fucked with. And I kind of still oppose this missile attack. And of course, John McCain was beating off in the corner when he heard about it, thinking that this was the greatest thing that ever happened, because there's like dead people, there's probably dead civilians there as well, dead children, and John McCain, Mitch McConnell, and Hillary Rotten Clinton love that shit. They just love it to the end. Oh yeah. And I don't. We need to stop fucking around in the Middle East. Now, Trump did use the Moab bomb on an ISIS holdout in Afghanistan. That I support. He could have just did that instead, but no, we had to get a 50 Tomahawk missile strike on a base just so Trump can prove his point. That's kind of bullshit, people. And because of that, the relationship with Russia kind of strained more. Of course, the straining of relationship with Russia has been mostly done with Congress, because Congress want a Cold War, I guess, to make excuse for more proxy war. We do not need more proxy war. We should not have another Cold War. Yeah, thanks, Congress. It was very nice of you to do that. Hopefully, the midterm election that is coming this year will fix this. I hope. But that's enough about the missile attacks in Syria. Okay, Don John decided to scrap Michelle Obama's school food program bullshit. Now, the school lunch program Michelle Obama made really made school lunches worse. Hell, in high school, I remember school lunches being like nasty, but at least they're edible. Every once in a while, some kid will get food poisoning from these school lunches because they were disgusting. And of course, Michelle Obama decided to amp up the ante and decided to make her bullshit lunch programs, which we have like mystery mush, mystery meat, or mystery drink. And none of these food are edible. None of it is. I'm glad that Don John himself is going after this bullshit lunch program and get rid of it. This will make school lunches edible again. And of course, if you think about it, schools do have like these community gardens they have around. And they were using these disgusting disgusting food that Obama was used, and using it as fertilizers or compost. And of course, these are like vegetable gardens that children engage, and those were like fun back then. Pulling out weeds, watering plants and stuff. And the food in these vegetable gardens are, of course, the vegetable gardens produce edible food compared to what Michelle Obama likes to dish out. Michelle Obama is not a nutritionist or anything like that. And her school lunch program was disgustingly terrible. A lot of people for the entire 8 years had to tolerate it. That's all I gotta say about this disgusting Michelle's disgusting Obama. What I'm saying is that's all I gotta say about Michelle's disgusting food lunch program. So there's a lot of things about the honeymoon I haven't covered, but There's a lot that are good and there's a lot that are bad. If I could rate Trump's honeymoon, I give it a 6.2 out of 10. And that's a lot better than Obama's honeymoon because Obama had done nothing throughout most of his honeymoon. And of course, it's amazing that Trump has kept his promises because, you know, when most candidates that do get elected, them keeping their promises is like low because they might fulfill one promise and neglect the others because, you know, it's just how they are. They don't even keep promises. But I'm glad that Trump has managed to fulfill most of his promise throughout the year. So that's all I got to say about his honeymoon. Back in spring, a man named Seth Rich was murdered, and it was claimed to be a mugging, but it's obviously a assassination attempt done by the Clintons and the DNC. Now, most of you people think that how can this be true? For a reason is that some witnesses say that when he exited either his apartment or the bar, he looked kind of nervous or something. I don't know. I do not know if that's true or not, but I guess it's what I heard, you know. And when the mugging happened, none of the possession he had, mainly his chains, his wallet, I guess his expensive cell phones, none of these things were taken. So it is obviously a hit job done by the Clintons, because, you know, in fact, the Clintons are notorious for their hit jobs on people they don't like. Like, if anyone stands in their way, the Clintons will whack them out of existence. They are a mafioso family. That's how they operate. I think they done this to JFK Jr. when Hillary was running for Senate. Otherwise, JFK Jr. would become the Senator of New York. And of course, she became the Senator of New York, and she was a do-nothing senator. There's even reports about their bodyguards being killed by the Clintons themselves, like a coffee shop that got massacred, and trying to make it look like a robbery attempt, which none of the things are taken. And I think that Seth Rich was the one who gave all the documents to WikiLeaks so they can expose the Clintons for what they are. Bunch of money grubbing freaks who just want powers for themselves. And you should know that we should give power to the people who don't want it, not those who want power, because those who want power are dangerous, you know. And it's obviously that the Clintons will do anything to get power. If anyone stands in their way, they're good as dead, you know. They're just dead as shit. It's like David Rockefeller with his CIA connection. He probably uses the CIA to kill people he don't like. And that's pretty much what the Clintons do. And that's what the DNC do. Hell, that's what any bureaucracy will do. Just look at Michael Hastings. He decided to go against the CIA and the FBI. Next thing you know, his new car he has started to he started to lose control of his car, and his car exploded before it hits the tree. It's a tree, you know. And it just doesn't look right. So it's obviously that Michael Hastings was a hit target by the CIA. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's pretty much what happens, you know. In fact, Vault 7 proves that the CIA does this type of shit because they can hack into anyone's cars. If you want to know about Vault 7, go to WikiLeaks and look it up. There's like interesting files what the CIA can do. Goddamn, that's pretty dangerous. But anyways, the Clintons are no strangers of killing people that they don't like. They're a mafioso family. So it's obvious that they got rid of Seth Rich as a revenge for fucking up their campaign. That's all I got to say about that shit. Now, the last topic. The last topic of this year I'm going to be talking about is the Weinstein effect. Now, the Weinstein effect was happening throughout this year, mainly half of this year. It started with Harvey Weinstein being exposed as a pervert, you know, like he just had women and asked them to do sexual favors for him. Of course, he would do it as a guise of business talk and all that shit. And you'll just do some weird sexual things towards them, making them take a shower or something, some bizarre thing. Now, prior to the Weinstein effect, we saw that Bill O'Reilly and Bill Cosby get exposed as perverts. Like Bill Cosby, I think he's still sticking to the fact that that he didn't rape them. Of course, he admit doing Quaaludes. Now, this America's #1 dad thing he does, it's just a PR thing. He was a Reaganite, and we all know that. And I guess he did drugs and behind the scene and had sex with women. And of course, the trial during this year came out with him being innocent. Now, if we keep putting him in court, kangaroo court and all that shit, it's just gonna have the same result because he's just old and gray nowadays. And I guess Bill Cosby just can't keep his pudding pot in his pants, so he's got to put his pudding pot somewhere. You know, use it to fuck women and all that shit. So what a way to disgrace yourself, folks. But anyways, we have Bill O'Reilly. Fox News fired this guy because, you know, he was a pervert and he done the same shit. He groped women. He would do these sexual harassing phone calls to these ladies and talk about how he likes to do his windmill dicks and all that shit. Shoving falafels up women's pussy holes and that funny crap. Which, you know, he's the guy who talks about saying that children of dead soldiers are being unpatriotic because they're criticizing the war. And everybody should shut the fuck up and let the war run its course and something. What a fucking dumbass he turned out to be. So it's kind of funny to see him get fired from Fox. He was like one of the, I guess, the major players of Fox News. And now we go after, and then the Weinstein effect happens, and now we're seeing a lot of holy weirdos and politicians being exposed as perverts. Now in Hollywood, you got like people that are being exposed as pedophiles and sexual deviants and all that shit. And like with, I guess, producers and actors and shit. Now I think like George Takei came on Stern shows and expressed that Hollywood was full of pedophiles. And I wouldn't be surprised if our if our politicians are pedophiles as well. Like, and of course our politicians are perverts. Now with the Weinstein, there's proof of him doing this. Same thing with Bill O'Reilly and that shit, where phone calls are recorded. I think. Now George Takei got accused of getting sexual with a 14-year-old. That's just an allegation, you know. We don't know if that's true or not. And now with our politicians and all that shit, for instance, it seems every male politician that gets accused of sexual harassment happens to be one of these left-wing politicians that support my women's rights. Why would they do that? I don't know. Maybe it's their way of getting closer to women because that's the only way they can do that. Now with Al Franken, there's a picture of him groping some lady while she slept. And that lady talked about how he tried to kiss her, literally tried to play tonsil hockey with her. And pretty much groped her while she slept. Now this pretty much disgraced him, and so he had to resign from Congress, you know. If he tried to run for senator this year, he'll probably lose because a lot of people know him as a pervert. Now with Roy Moore allegation, the judge, someone claimed that he wrote a inappropriate and sexual comment on the yearbook. Some lady wrote on some lady's yearbook when she was young back then in middle school, and everybody's talking about, well, where's the yearbook? And she never came out and gave us proof, so it could have been a lie to fuck up his reputation. And of course, there's been other ladies coming out with allegations like childproof locks, where childproof locks have not existed yet or anything like that. Now this kind of fucked up Roy Moore's run for Senate because when the election happened this month, a lot of people voted for his opponent. And they're saying that, thank God for the black women of Alabama. They voted for his opponent because Roy Moore was a so-called pedophile or a pervert. Now, the reason why is that the turnouts for Roy Moore was at an all-time low. I think most Republicans in the region seldom to vote for him because of these allegations made against him. And I think that's pretty much the case of it. Because, you know, they're told, like, why should we vote for this guy? Because this guy could be really a pervert or a pedophile or anything like that. So I'm not going to go out and vote for anyone. So I'm just going to stay home and watch TV or something. Or go on the computer. Which is what they've done. Now, if you think about it, most African Americans there will vote Democrat because these Democrats will give them welfare spending, which is kind of sad, but that's the case, you know. And I guess these sexual allegations really helped the Democrats win when Alabama, a state that's traditionally red as blood, if you ask me, you know. And I guess doesn't help that. So I guess with now the Democrats have no platform for the midterms, so they might try to use dirty tactics like that. Now with other allegations, such as the Penguin Publishing House. Now Charlene Yee came out and claimed that one of the publishers there, or was it a illustrator, claims that he tried to have sex with her, manipulated her, and this really fucked up his reputation that he had to resign from Penguin Publishing because of that shit. And there's no proof, and there's probably no proof of it. Like, if I'm gonna comment on this, I want to hear his side as well. And of course, she calls it gaslighting and cusses him out. And after that, my opinion of Charlene Yee has disappeared. It's now like at an all-time low, negative 400%. If I was an animator or a television producer or someone who want to make his own television show, and there's a character that I created that people say that Charlene Yee will be good for, I would refuse to work with her and just pick somebody else and leave her out in the dust. And of course, she likes to blame white people for everything and calls being white a privilege. Yeah, I know, it's kind of privilege to be a white man. You know what? It's also a privilege to have a net worth of $1 million. But anyways, with the Hollywood sex scandals and there, I'll say this about it. When people get to a point where they have a net worth of $5 million to $1 billion, they'll get this idea that they can engage in their vices. They can engage in sexual activities with people that are their age or with children. Hell, they can even try to have sex with a 13-year-old girl if they could, because they think that they got all this money in this world. They got all this cash, they can get away with it. Because for some reason, money buys everything. Money talks in this world. That's all I gotta say about that. I said it before with the Rockefeller thing, and I'll say it again. It's easier for a camel to go through the eyes of a needle as opposed to a rich man to enter the kingdom of God, which means it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to be a good person and be righteous, because most rich people would just engage in their vices. I think that's what this Weinstein effect has shown us, and will continue to show us throughout 2018. That's all I gotta say about this. That's all I can do with the recap of this year with this video. I wanted to get into like censorship of the internet that happened this year. The VidMe shutting down, Bill O'Reilly getting shit canned from Fox, and Vault 7 of CIA, but I couldn't get to it. I didn't have enough time to write down the entire script for this series, so this is as much as I can do. So happy New Year's. I hope y'all have a safe and fun New Year's and a year that is better than this year. So that's all I can say. I think it's kind of funny that the resist crowd think this year was bad because of Trump. Well, did you got fired? Did your pay got deducted? If not, then your year was probably better. So you can take your like Trump is a Nazi thing and stick it up your assholes for all I care. You know, these soy boys and new males and shit. So that's all. Have a happy new year. Or should I say, have a prosperous, happy new year. Well, have a safe, prosperous, happy new year. I'm Wicked Wonka. I'm signing.